The music was too loud for hesitation, but not loud enough to silence regret. Daniel froze at the edge of the ballroom, his fingers tightening around the tray he wasn't supposed to be holding anymore. He had only taken the catering job because rent was due, and his daughter needed new school shoes. He wasn't supposed to be seen. He wasn't supposed to exist in a room like this. And yet, she was looking straight at him. The CEO, elegant, composed, untouchable, and walking toward him, the female CEO looked at the single dad and said, "Dance with me before you regret it." Daniel blinked, certain he'd misheard her. I'm working," he said quietly, glancing down at his borrowed uniform. She tilted her head, a faint smile forming, one that didn't belong in a room full of forced smiles and polished masks. "No," she said softly. "You're hiding." Her words landed harder than they should have. Around them, conversations continued, glasses clinked, laughter floated through the air, but suddenly, none of it mattered. "I don't dance," Daniel muttered. "That's not true," she replied. "You just stopped." And just like that, she reached for his hand. 5 years earlier, Daniel had danced in a small kitchen with his wife, Emily, barefoot on cold tiles while their baby girl laughed from her high chair. The radio had been old, the lights dim, the world uncertain, but they had been happy. Then illness came like a thief in the night. Hospitals, bills, long nights filled with whispered prayers and silent fears. And then, silence. Emily was gone. The dancing stopped. Life became survival. "Sir," the catering manager hissed from across the room, clearly confused as Daniel stood frozen in the middle of the ballroom floor, hand in hand with the most powerful woman in the company hosting the event. Daniel gently tried to pull his hand back. "Please, you don't understand." "Then help me understand," she said, her voice firm now. Not cold, but unwavering. There was something different about her. Not the designer dress, not the confidence. It was her eyes. They didn't look through people. They saw them. "I don't belong here," Daniel admitted, his voice low. "Neither do I," she replied. That made him look up. A ripple of curiosity passed through him. She stepped closer, lowering her voice so only he could hear. "Everyone here thinks I have everything," she said. "But none of them know what it costs to sit at the top." Daniel swallowed. "And you," she continued, glancing briefly at the tray in his hand, "you're pretending you're invisible. But I saw you the moment you walked in." "Why?" he asked, almost defensively. She smiled faintly. "Because you looked like someone who used to love something, and lost it." The music shifted to a slower tune. And then, without waiting for permission, she gently placed his hand on her shoulder. "Dance with me," she said again. "Before you regret it." At first, he moved awkwardly. Too stiff, too aware of the eyes now turning toward them. But she didn't rush him. Didn't judge. "Close your eyes," she said softly. "I can't." "You can," she insisted. Just for a moment, he hesitated, then did. And suddenly, the noise faded. The ballroom disappeared, and he was back in that kitchen again. Emily laughing, his daughter clapping, music crackling from a cheap radio. His chest tightened. "I can't," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Yes, you can," she said gently. "You're still here." A tear slipped down his cheek. "I lost her," he said. "I know." He opened his eyes, startled. "You don't." "I do," she said quietly. "Not the same way, but I know what it's like to lose everything and still be expected to stand tall the next morning." For a moment, neither of them spoke. They just moved, slowly, honestly, like two strangers carrying invisible weight. Across the room, whispers had begun. Who is he? Why is she dancing with a caterer? Is this some kind of stunt? But she ignored them all. And for the first time in years, so did Daniel. "Do you have children?" he asked after a while. She shook her head. "I had a brother," she said. "He raised me after our parents died. Gave up everything for me." "What happened?" She looked away briefly. "I got too busy building this life," she admitted. "Missed too many calls. Ignored too many visits." Daniel felt a familiar ache in her words. "He passed away last year," she continued. "Heart condition." "I wasn't there." Silence settled between them again. "I built an empire," she said softly. "And lost the only person who ever made me feel like I already had enough." Daniel exhaled slowly. Grief recognized grief. No introductions needed. The song ended, but neither of them moved. The room waited, watched, judged, but something had shifted. Something quiet, but powerful. "Thank you," Daniel said finally, stepping back. She shook her head. "No," she replied. Thank you. For what? For reminding me what matters, she said. He gave a small, tired smile. I'm still trying to figure that out. She studied him for a moment, then reached into her clutch and pulled out a card. Come see me tomorrow, she said. He frowned. I'm not looking for charity. Good, she replied, because I'm not offering it. He hesitated before taking the card. I saw the way you handled that spilled drink earlier, she added casually. He blinked. You noticed that? I notice everything, she said. You calmed the guest, took responsibility, fixed the problem without making a scene. That's just basic decency. She smiled. It's rare. He looked down at the card. Her name gleamed in elegant lettering. I don't have a degree, he said quietly. No experience in whatever this world is. You have something better, she replied. Perspective. He let out a small laugh. That doesn't pay bills. It can, she said, if you use it right. That night, Daniel returned home to a small apartment where his daughter, Lily, was already asleep on the couch, her tiny hand clutching a crayon. He gently picked her up, carrying her to bed. Did you have fun tonight, Daddy? She murmured half asleep. He paused. Fun. It had been years since he'd felt that word. I danced, he whispered. Her eyes fluttered open slightly. With who? He smiled faintly. Someone who reminded me I forgot how. She giggled softly before drifting back to sleep. And for the first time in a long time, Daniel didn't feel like he was just surviving. The next day, he almost didn't go. Self-doubt whispered loudly. What if it was a mistake? What if he embarrassed himself? What if he didn't belong? But then he looked at Lily, carefully tying her worn-out shoes. And he remembered something else. Regret. He stood up. I'll be back soon, he told her. Don't forget to dance again, she said with a sleepy smile. He nodded. I won't. Her office was nothing like the ballroom. No noise, no masks, just quiet determination. She looked up as he entered. You came, she said simply. I almost didn't. I'm glad you did. He sat across from her, feeling out of place, but less than before. I don't know why you asked me here, he admitted. She leaned back slightly. Because I need someone who understands people more than numbers. He raised an eyebrow. And you think that's me? I know it is, she said. She slid a folder across the desk. Inside were reports, complaints, employee turnover rates. Our company is growing, she explained. But something is broken. Daniel skimmed through the pages. People feel invisible, he said after a moment. She nodded. Exactly. He looked up at her. You built something incredible, he said carefully. But maybe you forgot the same thing I did. What's that? How to connect? She smiled faintly. Then help me remember. It wasn't easy. The first few weeks were filled with mistakes, awkward meetings, and skeptical glances. Some employees didn't take him seriously. Some executives openly questioned her decision. But Daniel didn't pretend to be something he wasn't. He listened. Really listened. He remembered names. He noticed small things. He treated people like they mattered. Because he knew what it felt like not to. Slowly, things changed. Morale improved. Turnover decreased. But more importantly, people started smiling again. And somewhere along the way, Daniel started smiling too. One evening, months later, the company hosted another event. Different atmosphere. Less rigid. More human. Music played softly as employees laughed and talked. Daniel stood near the edge again, but this time, not hiding. Just observing. She walked up beside him. You're doing it again, she said. What? Standing on the sidelines. He chuckled. Old habits. She extended her hand. Dance with me, she said. He looked at her, then at the room. At the people who now felt like more than strangers. At the life he had slowly rebuilt. At the weight he no longer carried alone. And this time, he didn't hesitate. He took her hand. As they moved across the floor, he felt it again. Not the past, not the pain, but something new, something hopeful. You were right, he said quietly. About what? I would have regretted it, she smiled. Most people regret the chances they didn't take, she said. He nodded. And the dances they didn't accept. The music played on, and for the first time in years, Daniel wasn't thinking about what he lost. He was thinking about what he still had. A daughter who believed in him. A second chance he never expected. And a simple moment that changed everything. All because someone looked at him and refused to let him stay invisible. Sometimes, life doesn't give you a grand opportunity with flashing lights and clear signs. Sometimes, it just whispers, dance with me, before you regret it, and if you're brave enough to listen, it might just change everything.